Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
It's July,
July 2022.
and we are in the process of leaving the Centennial Valley.
The exquisite Centennial Valley, home of trumpeter swans and pronghorn and wolves and grizzly. And it's been some of the finest, wildest days we've had in a long time.
And we've been here for 5 full days with our full ecology retreat, which has been just delightful. And so we want to bring some of it to you. One of the things that we found ourselves exploring pretty significantly, deeply, I think would be the right word,
Yeah.
is the fact that each of us, people, are really wilderness too.
It's true. We love being in the physical outside of us wilderness. It's always been inspiring to us. But the fact of the matter is, much of that same wildness and unpredictability and improvisational magic is in each of us as well. The best science, the best physiology, really only knows a tiny bit of the mystery that is each of us.
Well, and that happens in our social ecologies too. We talk about that often in full ecology. In fact, that's part of what made it so that we decided to write that book and come up with the suggestions that are in there, especially the orientations for helping us all reclaim the nature, our relationship with nature, and so then the fact that we are nature.
Yeah, it's true, and that's really what full ecology is all about. As you may have heard us say before, is to sort of knock down those artificial walls we've built over, especially the last 500 years, between the human experience, the human psyche, if you will, and the natural world. Because the same wisdom that lives in nature would, of course, live in us, because we're the product of many, many, many millennia of evolution, of trial and error, of tweaking, and we have the same skills and ability to benefit from diversity and efficiency, the passing of wisdom through elders. The importance of the feminine in nature is also important in human culture. So that's what we're on about.
And resilience in the face of disruption. And so we've been talking with our participants about the wilderness that is in each of us as we come to know ourselves better, and the wilderness that is in any other person with whom we are in relationship. And certainly the wilderness that's right out here beneath our feet at this moment as we tape this.
You know, we're coming right now, we're in the far western part of the Yellowstone ecosystem. And as many of you know, the Yellowstone ecosystem, parts of it, the park and around Red Lodge and Livingston, has been severely disrupted by a combination of late season snow and torrential rains that were carried here from an atmospheric river that was at one point before this event off the coast of Washington. And so we wonder and we talk with our students about what allows nature to recover and recover fairly quickly from even the most devastating and surprising events.
And we're here in the wake, well, not in the wake, we're here in the continuation of COVID and in a globe that is struggling with warfare continues to struggle with warfare. And in a country that has such political upheaval and social justice issues that persist and persist. And if you're like us, you feel that deeply and you would really like to know what to do. Well, so we are finding and suggesting that we all quiet down a bit. In fact, that we stop and listen closely to what the natural world is telling us about how, for example, around the Yellowstone River, how recovery occurs, and how when things change course, like that river had to change course significantly, and it hasn't been convenient and won't for a while for human beings. But we are part of nature, so we change course as well.
Yeah, and you know, ecologists have known for a very long time that when it comes to nature, and I'm not talking about social ecologists so much as biological ecologists, when it comes to nature, what allows that recovery to happen and happen fairly quickly is one, a lot of nature has evolved to have uh, guards against the blunt force of a trauma. Sometimes we talk about how ponderosa pines have dropped their branches for the first 30 feet when they're mature, so wildfire won't climb up and crown them and kill the tree, and on it can go. The other uh, important aspect, besides withstanding the blunt force of the trauma, is once the trauma has passed, once the disruption has passed, are the things in place that are necessary to reweave the community. So are there still seed beds? Are there pollinators? Are there microbes in the soil? And as people, we can ask ourselves the same question: what allows us to withstand the worst of the trauma that we have to go through? And secondly, how can we quickly reweave the important aspects of the communities that support us and allow us to thrive?
We know from social scientists like Bessel van der Kolk that when trauma happens in a community, the people come forward. The people who are missing, of course, are struggling to survive. But the people who are not missing, the people who still have access to the materials in the city and to their own fortitude, come forward and they look for the people who are missing, and they bring supplies to people who have been wiped out. And so we've seen this happening in the communities around the Yellowstone River. And the way that we then handle the blunt force is that we have places that we can go for protection. We have warning systems. It doesn't seem like we're as resilient as a forest after the fire, but we actually are. Take a look at that and see. One of the things that friends of ours in Red Lodge have said is that people who would vote in entirely different ways, who really dislike each other for other reasons, are standing side by side and taking care of each other, filling sandbags, filling groceries sacks so that people can have food to eat, filling water bottles and gallon jugs so that people can have water.
And we know from research that in those moments when the community is, putting back into place the connections that were there, and even, as Mary suggests, improved level of connection among people who don't often encounter each other,
Yeah.
there is a biological, a physiological response, a sense of well-being that is made available to the system, the biological system, by virtue of that cooperation and that kindness. And so that's how we put ourselves back together, through kindness, through cooperation, through generativity.
It's so. Um, we are really quite resilient. And we know from evolutionary biology that the thing that we have survived with, and you've heard us say this before, is our cooperation and our kindness. And so Gary was reminding all of us this time that when Darwin ostensibly said, reportedly said, survival of the fittest, it was about fitness with systems that are underway. And in our case, it's also human systems.
Yeah, what fitness is defined, and Darwin defined it anyway, by who is most fit to adapt to changes and disruptions in the environment. That's the definition of fitness. It doesn't have anything to do with strength. It doesn't have anything to do with who's the biggest, toughest, roughest. In fact, those are often not the individuals that are the fittest in the long term.
Yeah, in the end, what it seems like, and other biologists have said this in the meantime, especially lately, is that it's survival of the friendliest. And
Yeah.
that's consistent with evolutionary biology and what's happened with human beings.
And you'd certainly see that with orcas, you'd see it with lions, with wolves, with lemurs. There are lots and lots of mammals that have gotten where they've gotten, uh, really because of that survival of cooperative individuals coming into a community that takes care of one another.
And then if you look at the land around us right now, this is all thriving because of cooperation across the species of plant life, animal life. We're not seeing any animals right now, but the wildflowers are fabulous. And
Yeah.
all of these things exist in concert with one another. So who knew that kindness was a thing that made everything work better? Kindness and cooperation across the whole globe in all of nature. So we know
Yeah.
way more than we think we know about what we need, and we have everything we need for making it through these difficult times. Doesn't mean it's going to be fun. Doesn't mean we're going to like it. Doesn't mean one of the things that came up in our conversation this week was watch out for resistance and watch out for grasping. When you're in resistance and in grasping, you're not going to be as functional. And you check that out for yourself. But we really saw that in the Yellowstone River Basin, that the people didn't have time for resistance and they didn't have time for grasping onto things as they used to be. They had to move, they had to take care of each other. And that's exactly what they did.
You can see a beautiful Douglas fir directly behind us, and you might walk by that tree and think, wow, that's a champion tree, and it's managed to get to that status by its own hard work. No, it's actually connected to the entire forest, as we've said before, through a fungal network that is under the ground that allows that tree to benefit, especially when it was young, from energy and other things being passed through the fungal network from tree to tree to tree. So the forest is healthy, and therefore that tree is able to thrive. You've probably heard, if you've been watching us at all, us saying there's no such thing as a rugged individual. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely true. Not anywhere on earth can you
No.
find one.
Keep looking if you want,
Yeah.
but there's not one. You'll see. Yeah. And so, what a joy to get to be really out here in the wild. You may hear the wind through the aspen in front of us as we're talking right now. Oh, and if you're a gardener and are curious about what are these fungal networks, the mycorrhizae are things that when you dig into your garden and you see the little white threads, those are fungal networks. And how many are in a square foot or
Oh, yeah,
something?
it's just hundreds of miles in every time you step on the ground, you're essentially crossing hundreds of linear miles of these
If you
filaments.
stretch them all out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's something that has been much in the nature news lately in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But we're fairly recent to the discovery of this connection network. And that's where science is right now, is discovering connection networks between
Right.
humans and between humans and the natural world and among the members of the natural world. That's where we're going. Science is finally catching up to what indigenous wisdom has been saying for a very, very long time.
And so, why take care of the planet? Why care about climate repair? Because we are all related. This is your family, these are your kindred. And so, that's what we're here to say with Full Ecology.
It's nice to have that sense of belonging.
Yeah.
You know, you really do belong, and you've got a lot of allies all around you.
So we hope that you'll check in with us by getting on our mailing list. You can do that by going to our website at www.fullecology.com. You can also write us email
at connect@fullecology.com.
And we're taking a little time off from the deep dive. We'll probably start up again in September, so stay tuned for that. Who knows where we'll be?
Who knows? But we will check in with you in August from hopefully some other beautiful place in this wide, wonderful world.
Meanwhile, go outside, even if it's just out for a walk along the sidewalk. Look to the tops of trees or just look up into the sky and consider how you belong and are this natural world that holds you up every day.
Thanks for stopping by, and we wish you a continued good and healthful summer.
Yes, we do. See you next month.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.